Through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it loud. Change in the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key. Make the big switch. Power to the people. Time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him. He's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules. A new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way. Say goodbye to all chains, embrace the new. A financial revolution, fair and true. For the workers, the dreamers, side by side. In Trump's new era, let freedom rise. Change in the wind.
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Kryptonaut with his crazy hair this afternoon. I hope that everyone is doing particularly well and having a great start to the week. I am very excited to be back and getting to chat with everyone after all the craziness of the travel and, getting all settled back in. So, how is everyone doing? What's up, Kukla and Mile High Trish? Yeah, I see that YouTube decided that to take away your mod status while I was gone, so I'm gonna have to get that one fixed. Mile High Trish, thank you so much for being here, Kukla and Trish. What's up, Savvy and Marcy? Oh, how is everyone doing? What's up, Nature Girl? Nature Girl says, hi, everyone. Zester, we have missed you. Well, I missed y'all as well. Thank you so much for saying that. I am glad to be back. Very glad. Yes, Kukla, I will make certain to get that one re-added. I just have to have YouTube specifically pulled up. I can't do it from the little panel that I'm on right now. And so I'll absolutely get that one fixed. For certain. Nature Girl, in celebration of your return, XRP has gone through the roof. Yes, it has. The market has definitely shifted once again. We're going to talk about that for a little bit after we get through hellos and maybe answering some questions and talking a little bit about the event last week, the Charlie Ward event. That was a lot of fun. And there were some very interesting conversations had. Hey, Kukla Savvy, LOL, does Zester eat green beans? I do eat green beans. They're not my favorite, but I do eat green beans. I'm not terrified of them in the same way that Pops is. What's up, GG and Mary Jones? Howdy there, Terry Shaw and Samuel Worley. What's up, man? I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back. Too much traveling. Everything was really awesome, though. Got to see my sister graduate. Very proud of her. Could not possibly be happier for her. And got to see pretty much everybody in the family, which was really nice. After having missed the wedding on account of the flight cancellations, getting to see a lot of the family was very important. Oh, thank you, Mary Jones and Savvy. I appreciate it. Howdy, Michelle. Howdy. Oh, musical lady. Hey, Zester, your sister Lucy has the same smile as you do, Zester. Congrats to Lucy and her happy graduation day. Oh, thank you so much, musical lady. And I do. We have a bit of a joke going in terms of the family because Lucy and I look awfully alike. Especially when you show people like kid photos, baby photos, and things of that nature. Quite often, somebody will make a comment or mix one of us up, and I always love messing with her and saying, "Yeah, you are one handsome, handsome fellow, Lucy," and she doesn't appreciate the joke, but I think it's funny, and she is a wonderful, wonderful young lady. Very excited for everything she's going to go out and do. Belinda, welcome. Musical lady, we miss your podcast for sure, Zester. Well, don't worry, we're not going to have to miss them anymore. But thank you so much for saying it. I appreciate that. Yes, before we get into any conversation or talks about cryptocurrency, investing in cryptocurrency, or anything of the like, it's very important to make certain and state that the content in this podcast is for entertainment purposes and educational purposes and is not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions. I am not a licensed financial advisor. Thank you very much, Kukla, for making certain I get that one. Tortuga, like the name. Good afternoon to you as well, Tortuga. That one was a learning. It's a tortuga is a turtle, a tortuguero is a tortoise. I've enjoyed my Spanish learning experiences. Tamara Mudry. Hi, Zester. You look so cute. Thank you, Tamara. Hi to all the mods and everyone else. I feel I haven't seen you for over a month. It's so good to be here. Oh, Tamara, thank you so much for being here. And it's great to be back. I love seeing family. I loved going to the Charlie Ward event and getting to speak and meet so many people from the community. But I really do enjoy being in my own space. I'm a bit of a homebody, and so I'm very happy to be sleeping in my own bed again. Musical lady, yes, very awesome presentation that she did, Zester, on blockchain technology, and it was a great review for us cryptonauts. Thank you, musical lady. For a lot of folks there, and I don't know if the camera could really portray it, because when I asked how many people in the crowd owned cryptocurrency or knew a lot about cryptocurrency, essentially the entire crowd raised their hands. 500 people immediately raised their hands. And then asked them, well, do you understand what blockchain technology is? There might have been 10 hands held up in the entire room. The auditorium was silent. And so it's a very, very important nuance for people to learn about, that blockchain technology is really the invention. The application is cryptocurrency. But we can take that technology and we can apply it to a variety of different industries. Anything that is data-driven or anything that is really a matter of accounting and validating, well, blockchain technology is going to take over that industry. And it's doing it fast. And so I'm very excited. I wish I had more time, honestly, in terms of it. I was running up against the clock when it came to my presentation, unfortunately, and I had a lot more to discuss. Kukla, how is grandmom? She is doing well. She is doing well. Both grandmoms are doing well. Got to see KK. It's my dad's mom for Lucy's graduation. She's getting around and doing very well. And then got to see my mom's mom, who goes by Somo. And Somo is, well, she's in a bit of pain with the knee replacement, but she's doing well. She's happy. And as much as she likes to complain, is worried about the recovery, it seems like the physical therapists and such think that she's doing very well. And so it's just, it's a lot of pain. It's a recovery process, but she's staying strong, and I'm very, very proud of her. Beautiful pictures of Lucy. Yes, yes. Lucy's photos for her graduation were awesome. Vincent from Miami. Hey, can I ask you a question? Absolutely, Vincent from Miami. Happy to answer any and all questions. Where are you from? I have been to Miami, Vincent from Miami. I was just in Miami for the Trump Doral for this presentation at the Charlie Ward Golf Convention. That was my first time, though. in Miami. I'd been to Florida before, but never been to Miami itself. Thank you so much, Kukla. Michelle H. Due to your presentation, I now understand what blockchain is. Thank you. I am so happy that it helped. So very happy. All right, now we're getting into some questions. We'll start answering. I'll keep answering questions until I see it lull for a second, and then we'll jump over to some articles and some news to look into. But Kathy Harris, best company to use for buying and sending from Bitcoin. I'm going to go ahead and assume buying and sending Bitcoin is what you're looking for. And Kathy, I always recommend for U.S. Consumers to just go ahead and go with Coinbase. Now, I did actually at the event. I talked with a good group of people, and they were like, "Hey, you know, Kraken and Gemini and some of these other ones, they're backed by the United States institutions as well. Why don't you recommend them also?" And primarily the reason I don't is because certain states have regulations against certain of these companies. New York being an example in terms of that, where only certain crypto exchanges are allowed to operate. All of these exchanges are essentially equal in terms of the protections you will receive as an American or as a Canadian or in most of the Western world in terms of utilizing those exchanges. I recommend Coinbase because it's the one that I use, the one I have tutorials on. It's cheap, and it's about as easy as it tends to get. But I think that it is fair to say that when it comes down to it, it really comes down to just utilizing a centralized exchange that's based in the United States and one that you intend to actually remove your crypto from and get to your own self-custody. Where you buy it from is really a matter of comfort for you. Where you keep it stored, that's what I'm genuinely worried about. And so, Kathy, I would recommend going through Coinbase and using Coinbase. And as soon as you get to enough crypto sitting in your Coinbase account that you do feel the need to make certain you don't lose it, that you then have a hardware wallet or a personal wallet that you own, that you are the only custodian of in order to store it for the long term. But Kathy, for Bitcoin, Coinbase is going to make it as easy as possible to buy, sell, transact, and transfer as any centralized exchange can. There are other options out there, many of them. But Kathy, primarily just make certain, stick with one of the big dogs and have a plan on where you want to store it. Remember that essentially keeping it in a centralized exchange is like keeping it in the bank. Now, for some folks, they're perfectly happy trusting their financial future to a bank, to Bank of America or Wells Fargo, etc. In this new world, as the financial system is changing, we have the ability for the first time, really in human history, to take self-ownership over our finances. We no longer need a centralized authority to tell us what we can and cannot do with our money. We've needed that pretty much throughout all of written history. That has been a mainstay, whether it was going all the way back to Venetian bankers and banknotes that could be exchanged from a bank in Venice and then a bank in Amsterdam, and the same note could be exchanged. You were still going through a centralized authority. Even today, when we look at the general system that 99% of all Americans and people interact with on a daily basis, ultimately, your bank owns your money. You go to the bank and say, "Hey, I'd like to spend some of my money on this." If in any way the bank sees any reason it can just stop you. That's what we're leaving. And that's the reason that we're moving towards a world where you genuinely are the true owner of your money. You don't go to anyone. You decide what you want to spend your money on. And so, Kathy, that would be the only thing that I would recommend, is that if you're going to go through buying, Coinbase is a great option. Gemini is a great option. Uphold is a very good option. But have a place to store it that you are the owner of. Hey there, whimsical winders. Zester, I don't know how to set up my Nano S Plus because it's grayed out on my ledger and I'm stuck. I had Nano X, but can't find my security credentials. So I bought the Nano Plus because you had it. Well, whimsical winders, first things first, your Nano S Plus will not work unless it is plugged into a computer. And that's because Nanos do not have a battery. There is no power on it. And so if it is unplugged from your computer, you're not going to be able to use it. And that's one of the things I love about it. I enjoy that. It simplifies the process of keeping me secure. All I have to do when I am done interacting with my cryptocurrency is unplug it. The second I do, it no longer is even possible to interact with. It has no power. You can't interact with an electronic chip without electricity. And so in that regard, that was one thing. If you do have it, oh, I see it was plugged in to a laptop. Doesn't matter if laptop or desktop. It does not, whimsical winders. And so it should be good plugged into it. What you may need, though, is that Ledger actually operates with a application on your computer. In particular, that application is called Ledger Live. I'm actually going to try to pull up Ledger Live real quick. That way I can show it to you. And so you will need to go to ledger.com and download Ledger Live onto your laptop. One other, and this is just very, very common with a lot of laptops and a lot of computers, sometimes one USB port is just not working. If that is the case, you may want to try plugging your device into some of the other USB ports on the laptop just to see. But one thing for certain, you're going to need Ledger Live in order to interact with your Ledger device. And so if we see over here, you need this application. You need Ledger Live. And then you'll be able to go into your accounts. You'll be able to see them. You'll be able to work with them. In terms of setting up your Ledger for the first time or in any way using it, Ledger Live is a requirement. Okay. But I think it's that I'm getting confused with other info I had set up. That could be possible because you said that you had a Nano X, but you can't find your security credentials. One thing I would say also, whimsical winders, is that you can actually go in and reset. And so if your Ledger Nano X or your wallet that you set up on it, if it had no crypto in it, you can reset a ledger. One very popular way to reset a ledger is to just type in the wrong password 3 times because it wipes the ledger. It's a security feature that's actually built into it. And that would allow you to go back through and reset up a Ledger device. But that you have 2 now, that's not a bad thing. The Ledger X is very, very good in terms of being on the go, whereas the Ledger Nano S Plus is very much perfect for when you're sitting at your computer. See, that does make it tough, whimsical winders. It did have crypto in it. In that case, whimsical winders, I think finding that security information is of importance, especially if it's a lot of crypto, which I don't want you to go saying how much crypto is on it or anything of that nature so that you're not getting targeted by someone who wants to try and sneak their way in. But if you have your 24 words anywhere, I don't know, maybe those were lost and the PIN code. If you've lost the 24 words and you've lost the PIN code to the ledger, you are in a pretty rough spot because at that point, it's essentially impossible. You would have to guess them. And that's not going to happen with a 24 word encryption or what ends up coming out to like a 72 encryption, which means there are trillions of trillions of trillions of trillions of different possible word combinations of words that could effectively be your security phrase. So I would definitely, if there's any way you think that you can possibly find those 24 words, I'd be looking for them. But whimsical vendors, you should not have any issue in terms of signing up another one. What I would say is that you can go through, I would, your Nano S Plus, your new one that you have, I would try another USB port on the laptop. Because if you have Ledger Live on it and you have that plugged in, it should start the setup process for you to get your Ledger set up and running. And so that one is, I think, judging by your description, that it's probably a matter of the USB port, because your Ledger should be powering right up. If it's not powering right up after you've tried USB ports work, a great way to check that is to take something like a mouse and plug it in. If it powers up, then you know that the USB port is good. Another possibility is to actually check in the settings on the computer and see if your computer is in any way blocking the device that you have plugged into a USB port. That gets a little bit more technically complicated, but it's inside of Windows settings. Those would be the two recommendations. My first one, though, is try another USB port. If the other USB port does not work, try plugging in some other device does work. If you can prove that the USB ports do not work, you may have gotten a bad device, in which case you're going to need to talk to Ledger customer service, and I'm certain they will fix it, because I have never heard of a single time that their device did not work. That would be very new. I've never had a single Ledger show up in any type of bad situation or bad state, or having been damaged in shipping. So I highly doubt that. I think you might just need to try a different USB port vendors, and I think that'll get you handled. All right, let's jump over, though, and into some of our news. As always, we'll start with the prices of the day. Today, everything is looking a heck of a lot better since the last time we chatted. A heck of a lot better. In particular, XRP. XRP is sitting at $2.53 at the moment, up 18.7% in the past 7 days. Last time we chatted, things were not looking near as happy in that regard. Last time we went and chatted, we were looking somewhere around $2.20. We've seen a massive increase since then, and the whole market really has. Bitcoin sitting at $102,625. Ethereum up 36.7% over the past 7 days, sitting at nearly 2,500. And the market on the whole is following this general trend. And of course, we have to ask, well, why? And this is where things get particularly funny, in my opinion, because we're seeing essentially the same. We're seeing a very, very odd argument being made. Primarily at the beginning, they were all saying, well, it's because of the easing of the tariff war. And that was the positive financial news that they were saying. And when I say they, I mean the talking heads, the financial analysts, the crypto analysts, the guys that sit in a cubicle and are allowed to be wrong about 364 days out of the year. They were saying that, well, it's the tariff war. The reason the crypto market is struggling is the tariff war. Tariffs bad, don't like tariffs. Well, we saw a lot of deals being struck. We saw the deal between the US and the UK. We see the temporary deal in terms of the US and China, and a variety of other countries essentially capitulating in terms of the tariff confrontation. And that is what most folks are pointing towards and saying is the reason that we're seeing this general increase in the crypto markets. As we had all discussed prior to any of this general price increase, Logic is not currently in the market. We have broken cycle. The cycle of cryptocurrency had been on a 4-year streak, or on a 4-year cycle, essentially. We had repeated it 3 times in a row, almost exactly to the T. And we broke out of that general trend. So we do not have any historical reference to go back to and say, well, today, 2025 is a lot like this time in the past. And that to me is really the most solid way to study markets. We usually, in terms of like, gold, silver, stock markets, we have so much data out there. We can go look at foreign stock markets. We can go look at gold and silver prices over 1,000 years. We have a lot of data to look back on. And that makes it a lot easier to go through and make a logical assumption about what's currently going on. With cryptocurrency, we do not have that. We have since 2011, essentially. And even then, I guess you could argue we've had a little bit longer than that. But since the point of it really being a matter of anyone paying attention, we only have 14 years of history. And on account of that, it's very, very difficult to look at a massive market change like we're experiencing right now and be able to make a general assumption about where we're going. And I maintain that. I maintain that essentially we're in uncharted waters, and I don't think that the tariff confrontation actually has as much to do with it as some of the talking heads do, but I'm not going to argue with them as the price is going up. I'm only going to argue with them when the price is going down. But I thought this was particularly funny. Remember, it was all the tariffs' fault that the crypto market was going down. Well, Bitcoin falls below 102K. Easing of tariff risk could see more underperformance. After 1 month of eye-popping gains, fattened bulls are lightening up after the U.S. and China announced a trade truce. Now it's the exact opposite general argument. Now we're seeing the same talking heads argue that on account of the tariff war ceasing or at least getting a little less intense, that's the reason that we're seeing a general underperformance in the market. Please, everyone, keep a level head and understand that essentially there is no go-to person in terms of crypto that knows the exact answers right now because there is no general logic in the market. Oh, that's a pain in the butt. Guess I'm not allowed to pause that video. There really is not. We do not have enough history. What's really going to come down and continue to influence it is adoption. And as we continue to see further adoption of cryptocurrency and of blockchain technology across a multitude of different market sectors, we are going to see the prices of cryptocurrency continue to rise. Otherwise, that's really the only thing to be looking towards. These tariff conflicts, inflationary data, and other things, those are going to be short term in terms of their effect on the market. If inflation is not brought under control, we're going to see, and I don't mean that because I don't believe it will. I believe that Trump and the current policy is going to get inflation under control. But inflation continuing to rise would be a long-term fundamental factor for cryptocurrency prices to keep increasing. As a matter of fact, there's some very interesting charts and articles that I've seen recently discussing the fact that if you had placed only 10% or even less of your disposable income into Bitcoin, you would have actually never felt the inflation of the Biden administration. By moving towards crypto and Bitcoin, it is a hedge against inflation in a similar fashion as gold and silver. Musical Lady. Trump stated today that China had agreed to monetary non-tariff trade barriers, which includes currency manipulation. I feel could be the template moving forward, ending suppression of crypto too. China agreed to all monetary non-tariff trade barriers. Yes. Well, it is. It's very interesting how we're seeing outside of tariffs, we're seeing all of the other impediments being discussed, which I think is very, very important. And of course, she has not done it all day, and she waited until everybody was here so that she could come say hello. And so say hello to Tina. I'm very happy to be back with all my kitty cats. They've been they've been lonely for the past 12, 13 days as I have been out about and traveling. And so little Tina is here to show me just how much she needs brushed after how long I have been gone, and also to say hello to everybody. Yes, Miss Tina. Mm-hmm. Yes, Miss Tina. We're going to have to brush you. You are shedding like a maniac. The cats have been very happy for me to be back and getting to hang out with them. They have been. All right, though. Let's jump in and check out our other articles. Also, as always, folks have questions. Please do be throwing them in there. It tends to be that most of the time, the questions end up helping a lot of other folks in the community also. All right. Well, we've got somewhat bad news. And well, we also have we know exactly who to blame. Politico, why the Senate crypto bill tanked. Remember the crypto bill we had been discussing, the Bitcoin Act of 2024? Well, in the Senate, it has received massive opposition from the Democratic Party. They are heck bent suddenly on restricting access to decentralized finance and to the United States becoming a leader in the cryptocurrency world. Because from their logic, they'd rather the country burn than give Trump even the slightest degree of a win. And well, they're doing that right now. Cryptocurrency industry riding high amidst the friendliest Washington environment in its history just suffered its first major setback of the Trump era. Senate Democrats moved Thursday to reject an industry-backed crypto bill, delivered a significant blow to the digital assets lobbies standing on Capitol Hill, where its agenda suddenly appears to be on wobbly ground. Now, I would absolutely point to the fact that we are reading an article from Politico, and that means we are reading essentially an extremely biased propaganda piece, but it does include certain facts. And the facts are Democratic lawmakers in the Senate opposed unanimously the crypto bill. Amongst Republicans, there was a slight degree of opposition, and there was not a uniform decision, but it was primarily on account of the Democrats that we are not seeing the Senate continue to move forward on the Bitcoin Act of 2025. But I would point out that the House of Representatives is still looking through and revising the bill. It has been presented to both houses. And so while it is a setback, it is not the final bet in any form or fashion. But what the Democrats are doing right now is they are selling the future of the American people out in order to oppose Trump on essentially everything. This was an extremely stupid move from their standpoint for any potential cryptocurrency followers that maybe would have leaned towards the Democratic Party. Well, I think that they really managed to end that conversation with this little move. I think they did. The Dems keep driving away their original base of middle class of them rejecting this crypto bill. The Dems are for the elite base only. Very sad state of affairs. It is absolutely. It is absolutely. Does the big, beautiful bill mention crypto regulations being set up? It includes conversation and discussion on digital assets. But what we really are looking forward to is this Bitcoin Act. And the reasoning behind it, because remember, we've talked about this one in the past, is the Bitcoin Act of 2024, now the Bitcoin Act of 2025, is not just about Bitcoin. It's about revaluing the US gold reserves. The Democratic Party is extremely entrenched in that not happening. And so they are going to continue to fight tooth and nail in order to keep us from actually getting the real data on how much gold is either sitting or not sitting in Fort Knox and in the Federal Reserve banks. This is not just because the Democratic Party is opposed to cryptocurrency, because the Democratic Party loves central bank digital currencies. They love the idea of having power over absolutely every part of our financial system. That they enjoy. What they don't like is the idea of decentralized finance. They don't want us to have the power. And they definitely don't want us to have the power at the expense of us also finding out just how much gold and just how much corruption has been going on in the government. And so they have a lot of reasons to oppose this. And I honestly expected it to be very difficult in the Senate. I am cautiously optimistic about the House of Representatives on this one. Cautiously optimistic. Let's continue, though, and read a bit more of this one, because this goes further, and there were some very good quotes put out there. I'm very disappointed, said Senator Cynthia Loomis, Wyoming Republican, who has been dubbed the Senate's crypto queen and helped lead a series of negotiations to win over Democratic holdouts ahead of this week's vote. But what the setback really illustrates is the challenge of bipartisan policymaking in the age of Trump. Unlike in their push to pass a tax-cutting megabill, Republicans need Democratic votes to advance industry-friendly crypto legislation through the Senate. We need them. Unfortunately, they are capable, because of the general votes, to essentially hold the Senate hostage on this one, unless Republicans are going to change some rules. Many Democrats, including Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, have warmed up to crypto in recent years and courted the industry, well, because they want those campaign dollars. But progressive lawmakers, progressive, aka regressive lawmakers like Senator Elizabeth Warren, aka Pocahontas, of Massachusetts, have remained staunch opponents of GOP-led efforts to legislate on crypto. And they cite very, very often that one of their big reasons to be in such opposition is because of Trump family's cryptocurrency ties and the Trump family businesses in the crypto industry. This one is another thing that we're going to be keeping an eye on. I remain optimistic about the House of Representatives, and I know that Senator Cynthia Loomis, who is the lawmaker who actually propositioned this bill at the Bitcoin conference of 2024, the one that Trump was at back in July of last year, that she is not intending to stop. She said that she will be pushing once again to get the legislation through, that this is a setback, but in no way is this a loss in terms of making this come to reality, come to fruition. And so, not the most fun one. I was not happy to see this. I had hoped, and I guess I should have thought better, but I did think that it was going to be a tough battle, but I had hoped that to a degree there were enough Democrats out there in the Senate that honestly cared about the American people. And well, it turns out they're not. And so, unfortunately, that means we're going to have to find other avenues to make these things happen. And moving on to our last article of today, because this one is XRP related and a very interesting one, I think. Is Ripple's Hidden Road deal part of a SoftBank-like playbook? One founder says Ripple is pursuing a SoftBank-style acquisition strategy using XRP, but others question whether the comparison fits. And so for those that have been paying attention, as a matter of fact, we actually saw one just last month Ripple has been very busy buying a lot of different financial companies, both brick and mortar companies, online based companies, but all of them operating in the traditional financial space. Ripple is not going out and buying crypto companies. They're buying banks. They're buying investment firms. They're buying brokerages. And what this article is questioning or hypothesizing is why. Now, I feel like we've already discussed in the past the reason why. Remember that a centralized exchange and a bank are the same exact thing. The only difference is the centralized exchange operates in cryptocurrencies and the bank operates in fiat. What we're seeing happen in front of our very eyes is these two things become the same. And Coinbase really has been for a very long time. I could have stored my fiat dollars in Coinbase for the past couple of years in the same way that I could store my fiat dollars in Wells Fargo. But we're seeing the FDIC start to consider backing cryptocurrency exchanges. Remember, the FDIC is the government body that insures your bank accounts up to $250,000. That's a very important step for centralized exchanges. And we're seeing banks start to offer cryptocurrency based investments. We're seeing these two things merge. And over the coming year, we're going to see that line become extremely blurred. An exchange and a bank are the same thing. They aren't different. They allow you to exchange your money for a variety of different things. But if you were currently holding a foreign currency account at a bank, at any banking institution, you would have inside of that account possibly euros, US dollars, British pounds, Brazilian reals. You would have all of those inside of the same bank account, same screen, same interaction, but they would be separated. In that way, your cryptocurrency account is very similar. You have XRP, you have Bitcoin, you have XLM, you have Ethereum. They're all in the same account with the centralized exchange, and they're all immediately exchangeable for each other or for US dollars. That's essentially the same service that a bank provides. The only difference is these are digital assets and the other one are traditional assets. What Ripple is doing is they are completing that process. Ripple is becoming a one-stop all-the-way shop. And that appears to be exactly what they intend to do. And their acquisitions make that very, very clear. Stabby, how does merging keep the players' fingers out of the funds? Is one on a central account and crypto on blockchain? That's a very, very good question, Stabby. And that's one of my general worries with this. With banks beginning to allow you, as they will very, very soon, they will allow you to start storing cryptocurrency with them. You have to remember that we are, in a certain way, disregarding a core tenet of Satoshi Nakamoto and what this technology was applied for. It was applied to take custody out of the bank's hands, out of the government's hands. By storing your cryptocurrency in a bank, you are repeating the sins of the father. You are repeating the same idea of giving the bank control over your money. Now, that is a great thing as a matter of being able to onboard users, new investors into crypto. And it allows for folks that were never going to learn how to go out and buy crypto and set up a wallet. It allows them to start buying it. That's a good thing. And we need that. But we have to remember that we do not want to give control back over to these same institutions that have screwed us over. We do have one major benefit, though, Savvy. With the blockchain, what the banks cannot do with our money that they can do currently is that it will destroy the idea of quantitative easing. A lot of the ways that banks have been capable of influencing inflation and manipulating the markets will become nearly impossible when everything is accounted for on a blockchain. it is a stepping stone, Savvy, and it is a good thing. And also, it's I would rather everyone personally was the custodian of their crypto. Much prefer that. But that's not going to happen. Some folks are never going to take responsibility over their financial future. It's just not going to happen. We have raised people in our society to not have to take responsibility. And so we're going to have to, we're going to have to deal with it. What we can always look towards, though, is the fact that we will be able to hold the banks accountable regardless. They will not be able to play the same games with crypto that they play with the US dollar. But it's a good thing, Savvy. We just need to make certain that folks are aware of what's going on. Leslie K, welcome, Leslie K. No worries on being late. I'm glad that you made it. And Leslie K 1770 said, NPCs will never take responsibility for anything. This is true. This is true. For those that aren't aware what an NPC is, it's a gaming term that has become very, very common, very popular in common vernacular. And it means non-player controlled. Those are like the people in a video game that you walk up to and, you sell your whatever it is that you've got, or you talk to them to get, to further the story. And it's become a term for the folks that are wandering around in the world, essentially just parroting the words of someone else. And it's a very, very good use of the acronym, in all honesty, because it's true. Many, many people out there are not actually capable of thinking for themselves. They just think and say whatever it is that some person they believe is smarter than them has told them to say. And the Democratic Party has really epitomized this movement as of late. All right. Let's get back to our little article, though, because I'm excited to get into a few more of these before we go wrap it up. So Ripple has made a slew of acquisitions to control key transaction rails and route them through XRP and its stablecoin RLUSD. RLUSD is a very, very important thing, guys. We really need to, and I need to make a point of highlighting RLUSD news and information far more often, because RLUSD is what's going to take Ripple to the next level in the short term. The $1.25 billion acquisition of Hidden Road on April 8th allows Ripple to use RLUSD as collateral in the firm's prime brokerage products. Hidden Road will also migrate its post-trade operations to the XRP ledger, the blockchain that underpins the cryptocurrency XRP itself. Omni Network co-founder Austin King knows Ripple's strategy firsthand. He sold his startup, Strata Labs, to Ripple in 2019. And so what they are going about, and this is where essentially they're making this comparison to SoftBank, is that rather than develop technology in-house, Ripple appears to be focused more on acquiring the technology in terms of traditional finance through acquisition. They're looking to buy all of the other businesses. Think about World Liberty Financial, the Trump family cryptocurrency project. They have been going out and buying a vast array of different services. Trump Social Media Group, that's actually the company that owns Truth Social. Well, they went out and they bought a physical bank in order to start making this. What the Trump family is doing in terms of their cryptocurrency businesses, and also what Ripple is doing, seem to be very much the same idea. Rather than developing the technology, setting up a bank, going through all of this processes, getting users onboarded, they're buying the companies and they're integrating it into the system. The system, in the long run, is going to allow for a seamless integration of your fiat and your crypto, so that there will become no longer this gap in between. where essentially I have money on the blockchain or I have money in my bank account and it's not easy to get them back and forth. This is going to move towards a world where it is absolutely beyond easy. It will be one-stop shopping where I'll be able to go in, hand cash to a teller and be like, Bitcoin, I want Bitcoin. And it will immediately become available to me. And I will immediately be able to go take my Bitcoin, do whatever I want with it, or XRP or any other. And I'll be able to start utilizing my cryptocurrency assets as they are intended to be used seamlessly and universally. Savvy. Then you can move money easily to crypto, to fiat, easy, get your feet wet into crypto. Not a bad idea for a short term. Thanks, Zester. Yeah, absolutely, Savvy. No, I'm happy to help, and it will. It will mean that anybody can just go in and be like, hey, I don't want to store it myself. I don't want to figure out how a hardware wallet works. I don't want to figure out how Coinbase works. They will just be able to call their bank and be, hey, Tina, whoever your banker is, whoever is, the person you like to interact with or your financial advisor, and you will just call them and you'll say, move this much money over to this cryptocurrency, and it will be absolutely no issue. It will allow for a massive increase in cryptocurrency adoption. From our standpoint, being the folks that have gotten in, have learned how to buy crypto, we stand to benefit massively from that because we are a small percentage. If suddenly 50% of Americans start dumping their money into cryptocurrency, guess what? Our investments are going to go up precipitously. It's going to be a great thing for us as it begins to happen. I just, from an ideological standpoint, worry about folks becoming over-reliant on the banks and on financial institutions controlling their funds, because that's what got us where we're at right now in terms of a market and an economy and a global ecosystem that is having to go through this. This is the reason that Trump is having to do all the things he is doing, is because, well, we kicked the can for a very, very long time. And we were able to kick the can because we handed responsibility, we handed the power over to these centralized authorities. Yes, Nature Girl, Hair of the Cat, she is killing me right now. I am trying my best to not to not sneeze and start watering, because Tina, I swear she does that on purpose. She has not hung out with me all day. She didn't hang out with me last night. She shows up to make certain that I am literally chewing on a pound of her hair whenever I turn the camera on. But I love her nonetheless. Tree Frog. I lost 200 XLM when transferring from Lobster to Coinbase. Tree Frog. I am very, very sorry to hear that one. And I'm curious what happened. I'm curious what happened. Did some of your XLM make it and 200 XLM did not make it? Or did you only try to send 200 and the whole thing just didn't show up on the other side? That would be something I'm curious on, because yes, 200 Stellar at 31 cents should have been like $62. That is not fun to lose. $62 is definitely past my breaking point on that one. So I'm very, very sorry to hear that one, Tree Frog. Is there a possibility, Tree Frog, that you did not have a memo address in when you sent your XLM? If that is the case, Tree Frog, you need to contact Coinbase customer support. And I would highly recommend doing so regardless, contacting them and informing them of what happened and asking them to review it. Because, Tree Frog, if you sent it to Coinbase and say the memo address was just incorrect, Coinbase themselves can fix it. And so as long as you put in the right wallet address, your Coinbase XLM receiving address, and you sent from Lobster with that address properly in there, Coinbase has it. If the memo address or the destination tag was not correct, then Coinbase has your XLM. They just don't know whose XLM they have. And so they're going to need you to contact them and be like, hey, here's the proof. I have it. And then you'll just need to kind of follow along with their instructions. Okay, Tree Frog. I think it was a problem when they asked about memo address. Tree Frog, in that case, then absolutely contact Coinbase customer support. They will be able to fix that one for you. As long as the wallet address was right, they can fix it. Now, it may take some time, Tree Frog. That's for certain. Coinbase is not the fastest, but they have always fixed it. Everybody in the community that has had an issue like that has gotten their crypto back. As a matter of fact, even before I ever was talking on YouTube or anything else, and I was just helping people that I knew with crypto, I had multiple folks who had that same exact issue. Every single one of them got their crypto back. Now, Coinbase and some of the exchanges will sometimes charge you a fee for having done it. Seems a little crappy of them, in my opinion, but I'm not the decision maker. So I think, though, Tree Frog, you're going to be good to go. They have it. Yeah, exactly. Tree Frog. Thanks, Zach. I will check into it. I know Coinbase has it. It just didn't end up in my account. And so, Tree Frog, it's definitely the memo, and Coinbase will be able to fix that one. So I'm very, very happy to be able to say with a fairly certain degree of confidence that you're going to get your 200 XLM back. It just is going to take you far too much time talking back and forth with them. You a kitty cat. Seriously. Kitty, what are we doing? No, don't do it. Don't do it. Tina. Okay, Tina. Let's say goodbye to everybody. Tina just tried to turn my computer off and then sunk her claws into my leg. I think I need to go and spend some time with my kitty cat before she slices my jugular while I sleep. All right, I'll try to get this last question with Savvy, and then I'm going to go ahead and head out to hang out with Tina before she comes after me. Savvy, so you put where you send it in mem spot as well as address where you send. Sorry, been a while on that one. Savvy, you do. And so specifically with XRP, XLM, XCC, and a variety of other blockchains, you're going to need to include a memo address when you are sending to a centralized exchange. The reason you have to do that, Savvy, is because the centralized exchange, they have one wallet for XRP. And XRP works differently than Ethereum and Bitcoin. Ethereum and Bitcoin, they have a special wallet pretty much just for you. And so it's very easy from the centralized exchange point to organize. When you send, though, your XRP and your XLM, they have a very hard time organizing it. And the reason is because, remember, your XRP wallet requires you to have a certain amount of XRP in it always. I believe it's 10 right now. And so because of that limitation, you have to use memos or destination tags. That way they can just figure it out from a centralized exchange standpoint exactly whose XRP or XLM it is. When you're sending from Coinbase to your Ledger wallet, you do not need a memo address because there's only one wallet. There's only one person. They don't need to figure out whose it is. It's the wallet address owners. And so it's just very important to make certain with XRP, XLM, XDC, I believe, Hedera, that you make certain when you're sending from one centralized exchange to another centralized exchange, or from your wallet to a centralized exchange, that you make certain and include the memo address, just to save yourself a lot of time having to go back and forth. But it happens all the time. And so if it's happened to you or it happens to you in the future, don't panic. Just know you're going to have to talk to customer service for a little while. But all right, guys, Tina is making it extremely clear that it is time and that the clock has run out. And so love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. We will be back again on Wednesday, normal time. Everything now will be back to normal with me being back on the island and back to regular work and back with all of my kitty cats. And so I'm going to go see if I cannot, maybe just get the vacuum out and vacuum Tina with how much she is shedding at the moment and get her brushed. But love you guys. Talk to you very, very soon. And I hope you all have a blessed week. Peace, y'all.